Hey, I'm back to continue on our series of breaking down your policy coverages. Today we're going to move on to the second coverage, known as coverage B, also known as other structures. Just to confuse you a little bit, while almost everybody in the industry, almost every insurance company refers to this as coverage B, State Farm likes to do things a little different. They actually call this coverage A extended as opposed to coverage B, also known throughout the industry as other structures. This is in place to cover you for any other structures you have on your property. I'm going to name some things, although there will be caveats. Certain items may fall under coverage A, and I'll go over them. So, common examples of coverage B, other structures, is you have a detached garage, you have a workshop, you have a barn, you have a tree house, you have a guest house, and you have a fence. Okay, these are common examples. However, there are cases where your fence may fall under coverage A, depending on the language of your policy, if your fence is actually attached to the actual house. Not surrounding it, but if you have one part of the fence up against the house, bolted in, even if it's a single screw into the house, then that can turn that into coverage A instead of coverage B. Another area that there tends to be confusion, and again, it's going to depend on your specific policy language and how the pool is attached to the house, is your pool. That is, many times if it's attached to cement slab to the house, that may be covered under coverage A, or some policies define pool as specifically either part of the main structure or part of other structures. Again, another area is your screened-in enclosure. Again, that's going to be defined by the policy. I will say caveat about screened-in enclosures. Many policies will exclude screen enclosures if it's due to a windstorm event. They simply don't cover. Citizens Property Insurance is a common example that they won't cover your screen enclosure. Now, how much coverage should you have? This is a big, important area that I always find many people are underinsured. Understand your insurance agent may not be familiar with your property, what other structures you have, how much coverage you really need. They're keying it into the system saying, hey, he needs $200,000 for the main structure, and the system spits out, okay, give them 1% or 2% of that for other structures. You don't want to leave it to that because you want to make sure you're properly insured. So let's say a fence. A fence alone can be $10,000, $15,000, even more depending on the size of the fence. I can't tell you how many times I've seen homeowners only have $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 of coverage. They lost their fence. Too bad. There's not much they can do. Your shed can be $3,000, $4,000 easily. If it's a big shed, it can be even more. You may have a workshop after Hurricane Michael. I saw homeowners who had workshops that were literally almost as big as their house. $100,000 shops, and all they had was $5,000, $10,000 of coverage. Your pool, if your pool is under other structures, that can be $50,000 or more. So the important thing is look at what you have on your property, see what it would cost you, get an idea what it would cost you to replace all of those other structures if the worst happens. And God knows this is Florida, and we've seen places wiped away by a hurricane. Okay, places have been totally destroyed. But get that idea and then talk to your agent and say, hey, you know what? I have a workshop, I have a pool, I have a big fence, I have 2 fences. This is the amount it would cost me to replace it all. How much other structures coverage do I have? Can you please make sure I have proper coverage? Make sure you have that in place before a loss ever happens. Hopefully you never have that loss, but we all know once that loss happens, it's too late. Hope you found this information informative. Of course, you can always send your questions to be asked to questions@pantherpa.com. And if this was helpful to you, would you do me a favor? Would you share this content with your friends? Like below, subscribe, and comment. Thank you. Have a great day.